Hey guys, and welcome to another brand new video. In this video, we actually have some pretty cool and pretty pog news going on over here. We actually have a lot of PlayStation 5 exclusives that are actually now being somewhat teased and a lot of kind of big information being leaked on out with it. But as well, we also have a pretty big, I guess, kind of somewhat big againstness. Is that even a word? Like basically a lot of just controversy when it comes to Xbox, where we keep on seeing all these leaks and PlayStation leaks and upcoming games and announcements and like, the Final Fantasy 16, 7s, everything's. And while the Xbox deal is looking pretty dry. So we're going to talk about that, talk about like kind of the overall community reception, talk about the actual games themselves, because I think it's kind of cooler to know which games are coming rather than anything else. And let's go and talk about a bunch of little gaming news as we wind down for the night. As well, if you guys are brand new, make sure you guys are subscribed with the notifications on as well for the brand new PlayStation 5 giveaway. Amazon links down below for the PS5 Digital Console controller. Twitter and Twitch stream as well, linked down below, and the Twitter giveaway down below, and the Weeble and Coinmates and all that good stuff. And let's go and dive into the actual news itself. So, first and foremost, we've been seeing this one leak slash rumor slash whatever has been kind of floating around a lot, and this is in more regards to The Last of Us. So as you guys know, we had The Last of Us 1 on the prior gens, Last of Us 2 as of PS4, and as of right now, a lot of people are like, well, what's going on now? There's also the case of the multiplayer too, which we'll cover up in a second, which I'm actually very personally excited for. So The Last of Us and the PS5 remake is reportedly likely to be released as of this holiday season. So we're actually hearing multiple different reports, multiple different people, and my own self included, I would just assume with that, it kind of gives them a somewhat easier holiday game, mainly because like a remake is usually pretty good. You already have the source material, you just have to port stuff over, you already have the lines, you have the dialogues, you have the character models, etc., and you also have the story, and like a lot of that stuff is very easy to port over. So The Last of Us is actually looking pretty likely. And as well, we've also been hearing rumors too, on top of this as we kind of dive in the article, of the multiplayer too as well, which would be The Last of Us 2 multiplayer or its own unnamed Last of Us style game 2 as well. So we've had multiple reports now suggesting that it's almost nearly finished. So as we've had a lot of folks over here too as well, basically saying like I keep hearing it coming out over here too as well with Jeff, and a lot of us, everyone coming out for the holiday itself too, and everyone's saying that they're pretty confident with it. Now I want to go and kind of poke in this too as well, because the game was a pretty good seller. The Last of Us 2 was a very phenomenal game, and as well was a pretty big console seller. And on top of that too, it has been a few years since then, but kind of I guess like the early topic of the video. Do you guys kind of think that 2013 games would need to be remade? At this point, it is 9 years old, but I also kind of feel like a lot of games, even 9-10 years old, like, PS3 or even PS4 games, kind of mostly work. Like, I feel like you don't necessarily have to remake it, although kind of porting it over would be nice. But I personally never actually fully beat the first Last of Us back in the day. I did fully beat Last of Us Part 2. So it's kind of intriguing to kind of go and see how this kind of plays on out and what's going to be going on with that one. So basically, it was claimed that the project was originally in development at PlayStation's Visual Arts Service Group before the studio was switched to a support role on the game. The remake's development is now reportedly being led by series creator Naughty Dog, which is even better news for this, which is said to have taken charge of the project following the completion of The Last of Us Part 2, which was released in June 2022. Tom Henderson also claimed in January that The Last of Us remake could be released for PS5 in the second half of 2022, which will also line up a lot with this holiday release too as well, and also even other places like Video Game Chronicle, where we're in the article on, have also heard very similar things too as well. They also have the unannounced remake project too, which is usually I think like the biggest news to go cover, mainly because if you see the job listings, you see the LinkedIns, you see all that stuff all put together, a lot of the time it makes sense. A lot of the time, like it makes sense. And they also did have to go and remove mention of the game being a remake, which once again, that's kind of like whenever people see it and they kind of look at it and notice it, you're kind of curious of like, hey, why is this all being removed in the first place? So also then during Sony's CES conference 2 in January, Naughty Dog co-president Neil Druckmann said the studio was dying to share with fans the multiple projects it's working on too as well. They've also been hiring for its first standalone multiplayer game, which also a lot of folks keep on thinking might be The Last of Us Part 2 delayed online mode as well. So it's very cool to go and see that we're seeing this, and this also, in all honesty, would make a lot of sense to go release it right before the brand new HBO show, which is expected to air in 2023. So you have the remake for anyone who's just maybe not familiar with the story. You maybe try to work in like a bundle, maybe try to work in the multiplayer too as well, just to have some more new hype games for people to play throughout the holiday season. And at the end of the day, I think it actually seems pretty cool. So give me your thoughts on this, or if you guys even want to play, you think it's too early for a remake, or all of that. But even more kind of gaming news, we have Final Fantasy VII Remake. The director says that Square Enix will share some Final Fantasy VII news next month. And I'm sure as you guys all kind of know, that we basically want to go and have the Part 2. We saw a few DLCs that went pretty good. I actually played on myself on my Twitch stream, and overall they were pretty solid, but we still have not had an official release date for the Final Fantasy Remake Part 2. So no more of this Japanese live stream about Final Fantasy First Soldier, a mobile battle royale supported by Video Game Chronicle. As for what this Final Fantasy news will be, it could be theoretically anything related to the franchise, including the First Soldier, the original Final Fantasy VII, and its subsequent re-releases too, as well with the Ever Crisis, and also as well hopefully the Part 2. And as well, because it does kind of go and put towards the, say, next month. Once again, that's kind of reiterating towards the fact that a lot of folks are kind of hoping up for a new upcoming PlayStation event, which would line up in the next few months, with the Xbox event and or Nintendo events and all the other various like Summer Games Fest and all that. Seems very, very intriguing. So this would be great too as well, because with the 35th anniversary, there is also a good chance that it could have the Final Fantasy Part 2 or even Final Fantasy 16 news too as well. And at the end of the day, all I want to go and actually do is play these games because they were phenomenal when I first played them in the first place. So hyped up for that. And now, it's funny enough, as we're kind of talking about games itself in general, Xbox themselves are actually having a little bit of an issue where a lot of people keep on complaining and talking about these major delays, where even some Xbox fans just didn't respond kindly to the delays as of recently, as we kind of covered in a prior video for both Starfield and Redfall. So basically, a lot of people have been complaining because as we have this, a lot of folks are being like, oh my god, the Xbox is awful. It's not worth buying. There's a reason why they're always still in stock, comparison to the PS5. Xbox has no exclusives and all that stuff tied on in. And I've actually kind of been in that same boat. In all honesty, I think the Xbox is worth buying. I think Game Pass is awesome, but they really do need to go and bump up some exclusives. Although with their event coming out in the next few weeks, we would like to go and see what they're doing. We would like to go and see them make and release some games. It's kind of a big thing. And while a lot of people on the Xbox themselves are not wrong, and a lot of the Xbox One's life cycle players, rightfully criticize them too for having few lightning rod exclusives as well, it's kind of been the same boat. Like they've been on big acquisition sprees. They've been spending money, they've been trying to make money, they're trying to push Game Pass, but at the end of the day, you still need to go and actually make some first-party games. Or at least have some good games in the first place. So by basically like on 2022, close to 24 studios are under the Xbox first-party umbrella, and then last March, regulators approved Microsoft the $7.5 billion acquisition of ZeniMax, which is the parent company of Bethesda and grandparent company, as well on all the type of stuff, for all these different various types of games. But the funny thing is they had games, such as Deathloop and a few other various games too, like Ghostwire Tokyo, but obviously that's just not for Xbox. They had exclusive rights already going on top of that. And while they do have all these games, such as, they have the Call of Duties and all these in Starfield, just right now, they just haven't really been seeing many games. We even have stuff like the Twitch streamer like Kid Smooth, whose bio notes that Xbox is the best box, and on Twitter, some people pointed fingers at Xbox head Phil Spencer, others call it a bad look in PR Nightmare, and everyone just kind of saying everything was looking bad and rough, and that basically Xbox has no good games too as well. And like we're seeing tweets over here too, where it's like, people are saying like, oh, the Xbox is a monopoly, they're buying out every game studio. But at the end of the day, they also have no games. It's just like, it's kind of weird because I do kind of stand by that. Now, I am not an anti-Xbox guy. I think there's going to be cool games. I'm excited for the conference. But just time and time again, a lot of people do get upset. Because if you're spending $500 and Halo was kind of a flop, what's next? What is actually next? So a lot of the public opinion on Microsoft is always swayed to as well, and I'd kind of stand by that too, because a lot of people are still buying the Xbox Series X and S. Like, the people are loving it, and that's a good console, good specs, good internals, but like even how they even mention these articles, they had Halo Infinite, which sucked, and then Forza, which was actually great. Now, I would also still love to see a new Forza, more Forza DLCs, but until then, nothing else has really even happened in the first place. And now with Redfall and Starfield also kind of still being delayed, everyone is still upset. Everyone's just sad about it. And like, you even have like people memeing, and you have all this other type of stuff too as well, where like you have like these gamers just like griefing, they're sad, like some of these videos are hilarious, where you can just kind of see that just everything is just falling apart, where they're just like, well, I have all these games, and let me just go and sit here and cry, because there's basically nothing else to go and play. And it is kind of sad, because it really is dry. Now, they are saying like it's going to be dry this fall, and we just don't necessarily fully know what's coming out, but a lot of games have been delayed. I mean, same with PlayStation games too, nonetheless, but just everything put together has been really rough. So at the end of the day, I just want to see this upcoming June conference doing well. I just want to have actual proper new games being released, because we're seeing these leaks already with like Final Fantasy VII or Last of Us multiplayer or Final Fantasy 16 or God of War or Forspoken, and we already also have had other games this year too as well. And like, they also at least have done some exclusives, with Ratchet and Clank and Returnal and all of that. And at the end of the day, we just want something good. So I got no complaints until they actually make good games. Then I'm all happy. So I don't know, kind of some kind of cool news as well with these big leaks, and as well, kind of cool news, I guess, nice to see that people are finally wising up to Xbox, and hopefully that'll put Xbox's, just basically kind of gives them some motivation. So make sure you guys are subscribed with the notifications on as well for the brand new PlayStation 5 giveaway. Amazon links down below for the PS5 Digital Console Controller, Twitter and Twitch stream down below, the Webull and Coinbase down below, and everything else down below. And I appreciate you guys all so much for watching in the first place.